ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true. I'll go first. When I was 8.
All right, so I actually have like a ton of these stories because I grew up in a haunted house. But if I'm gonna pick the most memorable one, like the one I can't get out of my head, then I'm gonna talk about the time that something was mimicking me and my sister to each other. So I'm gonna tell kind of two stories, but let me start with mine. So I wake up in the middle of the night, and I'm on this giant bunk bed. That's like, if I even try to sit up, I'm gonna bang my head on the ceiling. So I wake up, and I look off my bunk bed, and my sister's in the middle of the room. I have a big room, but she's in the middle of the room, and she's just standing there, not moving. And she has really puffy hair, like an afro, so it's covering her eyes, so I can't see her eyes. But that's my sister, and she's just standing in the middle of the room, which is not weird because she would get scared because the house was haunted, and she'd come like ask to sleep on my couch in my room because she didn't want to be alone. So I'm thinking maybe that's what's going on. So I'm like, hey, are you okay? What are you doing in my room? And she didn't move. She just like stood there. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing in my room? I started getting frustrated and I started yelling because I have to get up at 4 in the morning for sports because I play a lot of sports. So I started like nearly screaming. I was like, what are you doing in my room? You're making me mad, dude. And I like start climbing off my bunk bed to go talk to her, and the thing turns around and starts running out of the room. So now I think my sister's messing with me, like on purpose. So I start chasing the thing, and I turn the corner out of my room, and I live on the opposite side of the house, like far, like it's a long run to get to my sister's room. So when I turn the corner and she's not there, that's nearly impossible. That she outran me, and I run all the way to my sister's room because I wasn't even thinking about that at the time, and I run into my sister's room and I grab her because she's asleep in bed and the lights are off, and I start shaking her because she's a really heavy sleeper. I'm like, hey, wake up. Or I'm like, stop pretending to be asleep. Get up. I'm like, what are we doing in my room? And she finally wakes up. She's like, what are you talking about? I wasn't in your room. What are you doing in my room? And it was crazy. So, and then my sister's story has two different perspectives you can see it from, and I'll tell mine first and go into what my sister saw. So I wake up in the middle. This is months apart from the other one. So I wake up in like the middle of the night and I need to go to the restroom, and I start walking toward the restroom, and across from the restroom in the hallway is my sister's room. So if you're going to the restroom, straight across the hall, you can see to my sister's room. So I start going to the restroom, and as I'm about to walk into the restroom, I peer into my sister's room, and my sister's in the middle of the room, just bawling her eyes out, just crying. And I'm like, hey, are you okay? What's going on? Why are you crying like that? She's like, why were you looking at me like that? You were scaring me. And she's bawling her eyes out, like inconsolable. And now I'll get into what my sister's perspective was and what she saw. So my sister wakes up in the middle of the night, and she looks toward her doorway and she sees me. But I'm peering across the doorway with like a giant smile and glowing red eyes, she says. And I'm just staring at her, smiling with glowing red eyes. And she sees that and is immediately terrified. And she's like, hey, Gabe, why are you staring at me like that? Gabe, you're scaring me. Gabe. And like starts freaking out pretty much because she's slowly realizing it's not me. So she starts getting off her bed and starts walking toward the door. And she's like, Gabe, answer me. Gabe, why are you looking at me like that? Gabe, please stop. And as she gets closer to the doorway, like the thing pretending to be me, like unpeaks, like retreats out of vision. And then in comes me, like me actually going to the restroom. So we like crossed at the same time as like the thing retreated, and then the real me pops up going to the restroom. But as I'm going to the restroom, I don't see anything in front of her doorway. And I see her crying in the middle of the room because she just saw that thing, like, staring at her. And we both talked about we both talked about this. We told each other this story. And this is when we were like 15 and she was like 13. So it was terrifying. So yeah, I'm gonna end this here. Thank y'all for listening.